further ado, I will hand over to our first group of the session, Team Rapper, with their app MAPA. Take it away.
Hi everyone, and thanks for joining us today. We're Team Rapper. That's me, Rory, Anisha, Paul, and Aaron. Next slide, please. Our project is MAPA, which is a location-based AR web app that helps you locate your friends. You create or join a group of people and are updated with each other's live location. You can choose to view people's location on a 2D map or by using your camera combined with AR technology. This app is aimed at people who are attending an event, for example, a festival, where they are likely to step away from the group at some point. A big concern people might have when attending an event is their safety. So with MAPA, they can at least be safe in the knowledge their friends are aware of where they are. Next slide, please. The problem it solves is ensuring you and your friends can find each other should you or they get lost. In particular, the AR functionality helps users better visualize exactly where people are located, as opposed to just seeing a marker on a map. This app now gives meaning to when friends say they are at front left or by the burger stand, when dozens exist at a festival, for example. Now you can see exactly where they say they are. Next up, Anisha will talk you through a demo of our app.
Thanks, Rory. So once you, next slide, please. Right, so once you open the MAPA app, you'll arrive at the home page where you can choose your username, create a group, or join an existing one. Here we're joining an already created group, which will add your username and current location to that group's data in our Firebase database and save your username and group name in local storage. On our group page, we can see a list of our group members and how far away they are from our current position. From here, you can go onto the group chat room, which will display messages in real time sent by members of your group in order for you to keep in contact and provide updates on your position. Now let's find them. From the group page, we have options for both 2D and AR maps. So let's start with our 2D map. Here we can see the icons representing us and our group members. We're the brown marker, they're the blue one. As you can see, these markers update your longitude and latitude as you move, so you can follow them even if the group members you're trying to find are also moving. You can tell which group member is represented by which marker by tapping on it, which will bring up their username. So now that we're close, we can go back to the group page and select the AR map to get a better judge of their current location. Once we've enabled the app to use our camera, we can see that the AR map shows the other members of your group as different coloured 3D markers, which can be seen through walls and objects to allow for better navigation. The colours on both maps are identical, so you can tell who is who based on this. Here, our friend is represented by the blue cube that we can see off into the distance, the colour matching that from the previous 2D map. Like the 2D map, these markers also update as you and your group members move, so no need to worry about your friend wandering off on your way to find them. You can still easily follow their 3D marker. As you get closer to your target, you can see that the marker gets bigger in size, representing how close or far away you are from their current position. The exit button in the bottom right corner will allow you to exit out of AR mode and back to the group page once you found your group member. And that is MAPA. Hope you enjoyed the demo. Now on to Aaron, who will tell you about our tech stack.
Hello, I'm Aaron. I'm going to go through the tech stack, the choices, and basically kind of how things work behind the scenes. So as you can see from the slide there, we'll start. So Firebase, we use that to specifically handle the receiving and storing of the user's information and providing back the group information as it is updated. The React we use to deal with the user interface and handle our front-end requirements, so any validation conditional logics. Leaflet in the middle there we use to render the 2D map and to iterate through the group data and place the markers on the map. Geolocation API, I will mention, though it's not really a sort of tech choice per se, but the geolocation API is what we used, and the React hook geolocation to receive the user device information, so latitude and longitude. ARjs and A-frame, where we used to actually create the AR environment over the top of the user's camera feed and then populate it with the entities or the markers from the group. And finally, Firestore, we added in quite last minute, very similar to Firebase. So there was some discussion in the first part about whether we would use Firebase or Firestore. We initially went with Firebase for the real-time elements of it and the live locations being updated. We ended up using Firestore to try it out for the chat functionality. Next slide. So I'll briefly just talk through what happens, kind of with the demo. But once you successfully join a group, or you've attempted to join the group, on the left-hand side, input your details. A validation check is then run against, or a query sent to Firebase to validate the user selection. So if you attempt to, say, create a group that already exists or join a group that doesn't, you'll get error messages. Once you have successfully completed the login information, you will be presented with the group page button, which will then allow you to go on and to access the actual features. So once you are logged in, or you've joined or created a group, we will then, a geolocation component activates, and that will send periodically information to Firebase and store that against your username, as you can see on the right-hand side. So in the group, then in the username, and then your position, longitude, and latitude is stored. We can then grab that when we need it for it. Next slide. I will just briefly mention we did implement local storage due to the fact we don't want people having to log in and out. If you put your phone away to enjoy the event or whatever you are doing, you don't want to then have to keep typing in the same username and login. That's obviously a bit redundant. So we've used local storage to basically avoid that. So provided you're not using private browsing or anything, it will store your username and group name, allowing you to just access the features straight away. So ARjs and A-frame sort of in conjunction is how we've made the markers, so to speak. So as I briefly mentioned before, it creates a scene over the top of the camera feed, allowing the placements of the markers. Now, these markers will take a GPS entity position, which is comprised of the longitude and latitude that we've pulled down from the Firebase database, and then allows us to place those in a 3D space. Using a GPS camera function for it, we allow to also know where the phone is. The latitude and longitude from the group allow you to know where the marker is, and then A-frame and ARjs take over the rest to know where in the 3D space of the camera to put it and update it to as required. To make it usable, I think we kind of briefly mentioned on this as well, stuff like making the markers increase or decrease in size, also limiting the range of which you can see the markers. Obviously, past a certain point, the marker would be too small. The alternative would be having full-size markers at any distance, which would then become very cluttered and unwieldy to actually work out what's going on. Just briefly with Leaflet, obviously it's a very, very usable piece of technology, but that basically just renders the map and then renders a 2D map for the device, and then we'll iterate through every member of the group, placing a marker based on their longitude and latitude, and then updating as it goes. Yeah, so the geolocation will update periodically. We basically based it around time and movement. So if your position changes, you update your map. And if you're not moving, so this was the kind of thing we had to come to, was it will just base it on time. So we would first a set interval every 5 seconds, it will iterate and update the position. Last slide for me, anyway. Last two, so yeah, the chat function, as we mentioned, obviously a little bit there. The Firestore, a lot more structured than Firebase. Obviously, Firebase is based just big JSON, but the Firestore is a lot more structured and usable for the message side of it, which was interesting to see sort of the differences between the two. And then the final one, which is very mathy, to be fair, I won't go into that, but the distance is actually worked out by taking the longitude and latitude of each member, so the user and then a member of the group, and then calculating from just on longitude and latitude the actual distance in meters for that. Yeah, I think I'll hand over to Paul now to go over some of the issues.
Thanks, Aaron. I'm now going to go through some of the issues that we encountered. Okay, so initially when exiting the AR map, it would generate a refresh, which would cause the data to be lost, which would then require the user to log back in. We were able to resolve this by utilising the local storage. We also experienced challenges using the A-frame render library, as we had to append the A-frame tags into the actual HTML body. We found that ARjs wasn't such a great fit with React, but as we tested it as a proof of concept and we knew that we could make it work, we stuck with it and persevered. as Aaron has touched on, like handling the location data also poses a challenge. So we had to decide on the best way to handle that data with time, location, and interval that was available to us. So we opted for a combination of time and position, being that if the position didn't change, it would be updated every 5 seconds using a timer. So we completed our MVP with time to spare. So we're able to implement a chat function, and that, which was one of our extras. That also had its own set of challenges, mainly around interacting with Firestore and accessing that group information. So we have only just scratched the surface, really, with this kind of tech, and with the depth of A-frame, there's much more available. Going forward, we would have liked to add QR code generation for group access, a compass, custom markers, and a user page that would include group management. Thank you. That's MAPA.